Most men are predictable. They send flowers. They text too much. They beg for attention like schoolboys waiting for grades. And then they wonder why she forgets them. But Machiavelli saw something darker. He understood the truth most men never want to face. The game isn't about being loved. It's about being unforgettable. Not by chasing her approval, but by shaping her emotions long after you're gone. 5 centuries ago, he wrote The Prince, a manual for rulers who wanted power. What he didn't realize is that those same laws explain why some men vanish from a woman's memory, while others haunt her mind for years. And in this video, I'm going to count down the 5 Machiavellian hacks of dark psychology that flip attraction on its head. With each step, the game grows darker, the tension sharper, until we reach number 1. That's the point where everything changes. The point where you stop competing for her love and start controlling her gravity. But listen carefully. This isn't about manipulation, cheap pickup lines, or tricking women into liking you. It's about presence, boundaries, and psychological power. The kind of power that makes you unforgettable without saying a single word. So lean in, because once you hear this, you'll never look at women, love, or power the same way again. Let's begin with number 5. Number 5, fear over love. Most men think love is the answer. They try harder, they give more, they open up, they pour out their soul, hoping she'll finally see their worth. But here's the truth Machiavelli understood. Love on its own is weak. Love is soft, it's warm, it feels good, but it gets taken for granted the moment it's always available. A man who gives and gives without boundaries doesn't inspire loyalty. He inspires boredom. Think about it. How many men have been left behind even though they loved her the most? How many men gave everything, their time, their energy, their attention, only to be forgotten the second she found someone else? That's the trap of love without fear. It becomes background noise, comfortable but replaceable. Now here's where the shift happens. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved." At first that sounds cruel, but he wasn't talking about cruelty. He was talking about gravity. Fear in this context isn't yelling. It's not aggression. It's not control. That's weakness pretending to be power. And women can smell that a mile away. Real fear is this: the moment she feels that you will walk away, the moment she realizes your standards are not for sale, the moment she understands that if she disrespects you, she doesn't just upset you, she loses you. And that silence, that absence, it hits harder than any words ever could. Picture it. She crosses your boundary. Most men would argue. Most men would plead. Most men would explain why they're hurt. But not you. You don't chase. You don't raise your voice. You don't explain your worth. You simply step back. You let her feel what life is like without your presence. And in that silence, her mind starts racing. Did I push too far? Why isn't he reacting? Is he really gone? That fear of losing you creates obsession. Not because you gave her more, but because you were willing to give her nothing when your standards were crossed. That is the Machiavellian edge. Because here's the secret. Most women aren't obsessed with the man who loves them the most. They're obsessed with the man they can't control. The one who could love them deeply, but never at the cost of his own self-respect. She may enjoy your love. She may love your company. But if she doesn't feel deep down that she could lose you if she disrespects you, you are replaceable. But when she does feel it, when she knows you will walk rather than beg, that's when love sharpens into respect. That's when attraction turns into gravity. That's when she stops testing if you'll stay and starts fighting to keep you. And that's why Machiavelli said fear is safer than love. Because without the fear of losing you, love alone is fragile. But with it, love becomes obsession. Number 4, image over truth. Every man has been taught the same lie since childhood. If you're kind, loyal, hardworking, and honest, people will respect you. Women will desire you. The world will reward you. But Machiavelli shattered that illusion with one brutal line. It is not necessary to be good. It is necessary to appear good. Sit with that. You could be the most loyal man she's ever met, You could have intelligence, discipline, values carved into stone. But if you show up with weak posture, a hesitant tone, nervous eyes, none of that matters. She won't feel it. Because attraction doesn't start with facts, it starts with perception. And here's the bitter truth. The world doesn't see your truth. It sees your image. Women don't fall for bullet point resumes of virtues. They fall for the story their body tells them when they stand in your presence. Think about it. She isn't analyzing your resume like a job interview. She's scanning. Do I feel safe? Do I feel pulled in? Do I feel his energy? And if what you project is hesitation, over-explaining, neediness, then in her body you've already lost. This isn't about faking who you are. It's about framing who you are. Because humans don't respond to truth. They respond to what feels true. When you feel unsure, stand like a man who knows where he's going. When you feel anger, speak like a man who controls fire, not one consumed by it. When you feel desperate to chase, do nothing. Let stillness speak, because in stillness, there is power. In silence, there is mystery. And here's the secret most men never realize. Women aren't drawn to what they fully understand. They're drawn to what they can't quite explain. They're not obsessed with what you say. They're obsessed with the space you leave unsaid. That's why oversharing kills attraction. That's why convincing never works. Because the moment you give her all the answers, the mystery dies. And once the mystery dies, so does the chase. So stop trying to be understood. Stop trying to prove yourself. Start shaping the image she feels when she's around you. Because in a world ruled by perception, truth isn't power, image is. And the man who controls how he is seen doesn't just get remembered, he becomes unforgettable. Number 3, the lion and the fox. Every woman will test you. Don't get it twisted. It's not to destroy you, it's to measure you. She'll pull away. She'll go cold, then warm, then cold again. She'll say one thing and do another. She'll push your buttons just to see, will you break? And most men do. They explain, they argue, they apologize for things they didn't even do. And in that moment, she knows. He's not the man. He's just another boy who folds when pressure hits. But centuries ago, Machiavelli revealed the blueprint. A ruler must be both a lion and a fox. The lion is raw power. He doesn't chase. He doesn't explain. He enforces boundaries with presence alone. He commands without raising his voice. The fox is intelligence. He doesn't react to bait. He doesn't reveal his hand. He listens. He calculates. He strikes only when the timing is clean. And here's where most men fail. They try to be one or the other. If you are only the lion, she'll find a way to provoke you. And when you explode in anger, she sees you as unstable. Your strength becomes noise. If you are only the fox, she'll admire your wit, but she won't trust you to lead. Without that fire, without that backbone, she'll never fully respect you. But when you become both, when she sees the strength of the lion in your silence and the cunning of the fox in your calm, you become unpredictable, untouchable, unforgettable. Here's how it plays out. When she's emotional, be the fox. Don't chase the storm. Let her test crash against your calm. When she crosses a line, be the lion. Not with shouting, not with threats, but with a stillness that says, this is my boundary and it will not move. That's the man she respects. Not because you fight, but because you don't flinch. Not because you explain, but because you don't need to. She can't box you in. She can't predict your next move. And it's that uncertainty, that tension, that keeps her chasing, even when she swore she wouldn't. Because power isn't just force. Power is silence sharpened by intelligence. Fire contained by discipline. The lion protects your respect. The fox protects your mind. And together they make you unforgettable. Number 2, absence is gravity. Predictability is death. And most men are predictable. They're always available, always replying, always around. And because they never leave, they never get remembered. Here's the truth. When you're constantly present, you stop existing in her mind. You blend into the background. You become another notification she can mute, another comfort she can take for granted. Machiavelli understood this with rulers. Power grows not by being everywhere, but by being missed. And the same law applies here, because absence is gravity. When you vanish, not with anger, not with drama, not with some bitter goodbye, but with silence, calm, and control, you create a void. And the female mind cannot resist a void. It has to fill it. It has to explain it. She replays your last words. She rethinks every look. She rewinds every detail you left unsaid. And suddenly, you're not just a man she once spoke to. You're a puzzle she can't solve. That's the hook, because the human mind obsesses over unfinished stories. What's missing pulls harder than what's given. But here's the critical part. Absence only works when your presence had weight. If you were needy, desperate, forgettable, disappearing won't matter. It'll feel like a relief. But if your presence was strong, if your silence carried weight, then your absence becomes a storm. She feels the gap. She feels the shift. She feels the fear. Most men try to hold her by giving more. They think consistency will win. But the man who disappears at the right time doesn't need to hold her. She holds herself to him. This isn't about punishment. It isn't about games. It's about contrast. You give warmth, then you take it away. You show presence, then you retreat. You let her experience the whiplash of having you and then not having you. And in that space, she doesn't just remember you. She magnifies you. Because a man who can walk away at any time without flinching isn't just a man. He's gravity. And gravity doesn't chase, it pulls. Number 1, be her turning point. Most men are forgettable. They come, they go, and they leave nothing behind. She might remember their face, their jokes, their gifts, but over time, they blur together into background noise. But there's one kind of man she never forgets. Not because he gave her more, but because he gave her a moment that changed her. Machiavelli understood rulers this way. The man who shifts the course of a people's story can never be erased from memory. And with women, the same law applies. She never forgets the man who became her turning point. So what does that mean? It means you don't chase validation. You don't try to entertain her like the rest. You don't fold into her frame. You do the opposite. You stand so firm in who you are that being with you forces her to see herself differently. Imagine this. She tests you. She pushes a line. Most men would argue, explain, or beg. But you walk away, calm, silent, unshaken. And in that silence, she realizes something. This man cannot be controlled. Or maybe it's the moment you tell her the truth no one else dared to say. You look her in the eye and cut through her mask. No flattery, no softening, just truth. And she feels it, exposed, seen, shaken. That's not cruelty, that's transformation. Because women don't remember every man they liked. They remember the man who triggered a version of themselves they never met before. The man who made them question, doubt, feel, grow. And here's the secret. Once you become tied to her transformation, you live in her mind forever. She might move on. She might laugh. She might even pretend to forget you. But deep inside, behind every smile, there's a memory that whispers, "He changed me." That's why the man who is her turning point doesn't need to fight for her attention. He doesn't need to beg for love, because he's no longer just another chapter in her story. He is the plot twist she can't rewrite. Think about it. Most men leave nothing but entertainment. You leave impact. You become the moment her story shifted. And long after you vanish, long after other men come and go, that moment remains carved into her psychology. Freud once said, "People may forget facts, but they never forget emotions." Machiavelli would say it differently. The man who changes how she sees herself is the man who rules her mind. So be her turning point. Not the boyfriend she liked, not the fling she forgot. Be the man she remembers as the shift, the before and after in her life. Because when you become that, you no longer need to chase space in her heart. You live there uninvited for the rest of her life. So now you know. Most men play for love. The unforgettable ones play for power. They don't beg. They don't chase. They don't fold into her frame. They move like rulers, silent when others panic, calm when others plead. They vanish without warning, and when they return like storms. And that's why they're unforgettable. Not because they gave her more, but because they gave her a moment that rewrote her story. But this isn't really about her, is it? It's about you, about the man you've been until now. Predictable, forgettable, replaceable, and the man you're about to become. If you've listened this far, you already feel it. The shift, the instinct waking up inside you. You know you can't go back to chasing like an average man. So here's the test. Drop one sentence in the comments. I am a changed man. Not for me, for you. To mark the moment you stopped being ordinary and started becoming unforgettable. And if you're ready to step even deeper, subscribe now. Because what comes next won't just change how you deal with women. It will change how you see yourself, how you carry yourself, and how you rule your world.